Admiral Victoria Nash stood at the viewport of humanity's last orbital command station, Bastion Prime. Her weathered hands pressed against the reinforced glass as she watched the greatest fleet in galactic history, and Earth's strongest allies, flee like scattered leaves in a storm. The Centaurian dreadnoughts, the crystalline vessels of the Lumini, the biological ships of the Nexus Collective, all of them jumping to hyperspace, abandoning humanity to its fate. Another transmission from the Galactic Council, Admiral, Lieutenant Wei reported, his voice steady despite the chaos around them. They are officially declaring Earth a quarantine zone. They say it's for our own protection. Nash's reflection showed a hard smile in the viewport's glass. At 58, her silver-streaked black hair and sharp features had earned her the nickname Steel Hawk among the crew. Today, that steel would be tested like never before. Protection, she said, turning to face the command center. That's what they are calling abandonment now. The massive holographic displays showed Earth's remaining defense grid, impressive by human standards, but nothing compared to what their allies had possessed. Status report. Colonel Franklin stepped forward, his dark skin glistening with sweat under the emergency lights. Ground forces are mobilizing worldwide. The old military bunkers from the Third World War are being recommissioned. Governor Patel has every factory from Shanghai to Sao Paulo running at maximum capacity. And the Void Harbinger. The name sent a chill through their command center. They'd first detected it 3 months ago, a mass of pure darkness moving between the stars, consuming everything in its path. The Lumini had called it an ancient evil, a cosmic horror that awakened every few million years to feed. The Centaurians had said fighting it was impossible. The Nexus Collective had simply fled without a word. Still accelerating toward our solar system, Major Helena Reyes reported from her station, her augmented eyes glowing as she processed the data. Current trajectory puts it here in 72 hours. It's bigger than before. Nearly twice the size of Lunar now. Nash nodded, her mind already calculating possibilities. Humanity had always been the underdogs of the galaxy. Their ships were crewed by alien standards, their technology considered primitive. But they had something the others didn't, something that had helped them survive ice ages, world wars, and their own near extinction: pure, unrelenting determination. Send word to all commands, Nash ordered, her voice carrying across the now silent command center. Operation Defiance is now in effect. I want every ship, every weapon, every soldier ready for what's coming. And get me Director Drake from the Prometheus Institute. Yes, Wei acknowledged, his fingers dancing across his holographic interface. But, what about the Council's quarantine? Nash's eyes hardened. The Council just showed their true colors, Lieutenant. They've forgotten that humanity doesn't need permission to survive. We never have. Across Earth, the response to Nash's orders was immediate and absolute. In the underwater bases of the Pacific, engineers began activating the experimental quantum shield generators. In the sprawling defense complexes of the Sahara, massive rail guns pointed their barrels skyward. From the frozen research stations of Antarctica to the orbital shipyards above Mars, humanity prepared for war. Dr. Kenso Tanaka, Earth's leading xenobiologist, worked frantically in his laboratory beneath Mount Fuji. His team had been studying the fragments of void matter collected from its previous attacks on other worlds. It's not just a creature, he reported to Nash via quantum link. It's like a cancer in reality itself. But every cancer has a weakness. In orbit, Captain Imani Okoro ran combat drills with her fighter squadron. The sleek Raptor-class ships weren't as advanced as Centaurian fighters, but they had something special: pilots who refused to give up. The aliens might have better tech, she told her pilots, but we have better hearts. Remember that when the darkness comes. Nash spent the next hours coordinating Earth's transformation into a fortress. The old national rivalries that had once divided humanity melted away in the face of extinction. Chinese missiles merged with American defense grids. Russian quantum computers linked with European AI systems. African drone swarms synchronized with South American battle stations. We're receiving messages from the civilian sectors, Colonel Franklin reported. They are not panicking, Admiral. they are volunteering. Every retired soldier, every engineer, every pilot, they are all reporting for duty. Nash felt a fierce pride burn in her chest. This was humanity at its finest, not running, not hiding, but standing together against impossible odds. She thought of all the times aliens had looked down on humans, called them primitive, violent, unpredictable. They'd never understood that these very traits were humanity's greatest strength. "Admiral," Wei called out, his voice tight with urgency. "New readings from the Deep Space Array. The Void Harbinger, it's changing course. Accelerating. Time to arrival now estimated at 48 hours. Nash straightened her uniform, her mind already shifting to the next phase of preparation. "Good," she said, surprising everyone on the command deck. "Let it come faster. The sooner it arrives, the sooner it learns what humanity is truly capable of." The countdown to humanity's greatest battle had begun. And in the darkness between the stars, something ancient and terrible was about to learn why Earth's children had survived every catastrophe their world had thrown at them. The aliens had run, but humanity would stand. They would fight. And if this was to be their last battle, they would make it one the galaxy would never forget. 36 hours before impact, the skies above Earth blazed with unprecedented activity. Colonel Marcus Zhao watched from the command center of Beijing's underground complex as thousands of construction drones swarmed like metallic insects, reinforcing the planetary defense grid. His cybernetic eye whirred softly, analyzing the patterns of movement above. "Status on Project Aegis," he asked, his voice carrying across the bustling command center where engineers and tacticians worked with desperate intensity. Dr. Olivia Drake's hologram materialized beside him, her dark complexion highlighted by the blue glow of quantum transmission. "The planetary shield matrix is at 60% capacity," she reported, hands moving through invisible data streams. "We've finally cracked the Lumini crystalline technology they left behind. Their betrayal might just save us." Zhao nodded grimly. When the aliens fled, they'd abandoned vast stockpiles of advanced technology, perhaps out of guilt, perhaps out of fear. Humanity had spent the last 48 hours reverse engineering everything they could. What the aliens had developed over millennia, Earth scientists were trying to master in days. The Void Harbingers already affecting deep space communications, Lieutenant Rumi Hassan reported from his station, fingers dancing across holographic displays. "We're getting distortion patterns unlike anything we've seen before. It's like reality itself is being warped." In the massive underground laboratories beneath the Himalayas, Dr. Drake's physical form worked tirelessly with her team. They'd discovered something in the Lumini crystals, a resonance pattern that seemed to repel their void's influence. But scaling it up to planetary size was proving challenging. "We've lost contact with the Jupiter outposts," a young technician announced, her voice trembling. The room fell silent for a moment, hundreds of hearts heavy with the knowledge of what that meant. The outer system's early warning network was going dark. Zhao straightened his back, his ceremonial sword, a reminder of humanity's warrior heritage, hanging at his side. "Focus on your tasks," he commanded, his voice firm but encouraging. "Every second counts." Across the planet, humanity's transformation continued. The great shipyards of Orbital Station Phoenix, 7 worked at full capacity, fitting civilian vessels with military-grade shields. In the Brazilian rainforest, ancient temples had been converted into quantum computing centers, their processing power dedicated to calculating defense strategies against an enemy that defied physics itself. "Colonel," Dr. Drake's hologram flickered with urgency. "We've detected something unusual in the Void Harbinger's approach pattern. It's not just moving through space, it's consuming it. The quantum readings suggest it's creating a bubble of nothingness." Zhao processed this information, his augmented mind connecting patterns. "Can we use that against it? Turn its own nature into a weapon?" "Maybe," Drake's eyes lit up with possibility. "But we'd need more power than Earth has ever generated. We'd need everything," Zhao finished. "We'd need everything." The next hours saw humanity push itself to limits previously thought impossible. In the underwater cities of the Pacific, fusion reactors were pushed beyond safety protocols, their containment fields straining as they generated power that would either save Earth or hasten its destruction. Former rivals worked side by side. Russian quantum physicists collaborated with American engineers, Chinese AI systems merged with European defense networks. Humanity's greatest strength had always been its ability to unite in the face of extinction. In orbit, Admiral Nash's voice crackled through the global command channel. The Void Harbinger has breached Saturn's orbit. All stations, initiate final defense protocols. Zhao watched as the planetary defense grid hummed to life. Millions of crystalline nodes, recreated from abandoned alien tech, began to glow with an inner light. The shield that would either save humanity or witness its last stand was taking shape. "Dr. Drake," he called out, "what's the status of the resonance weapon?" Her hologram appeared again, looking exhausted but determined. "We've integrated the Lumini crystals with our quantum network. The theory is solid. If we can match the void's own frequency, we might be able to create a feedback loop that disrupts its coherence. And if we're wrong, then we'll have given it a clear path straight to Earth's core." Zhao allowed himself a grim smile. "Taking chances is what humans do best, Doctor. Proceed with the integration." In the streets below, civilians worked alongside military personnel, reinforcing structures, setting up emergency shelters, preparing for whatever came next. There was no panic, no chaos, just the quiet determination of a species that had survived ice ages, meteorites, and their own capacity for self-destruction. "Colonel," Hassan called out, his voice tight with controlled fear. "We're detecting quantum distortions in the inner solar system." Mars just went dark. The red planet's disappearance from their sensors sent a chill through their command center. The Void Harbinger wasn't just approaching, it was consuming everything in its path. Reality itself seemed to be unraveling in its wake. "Dr. Drake," Zhao's voice was steady despite the growing darkness above. "How much longer until the shield is ready?" 20 minutes for full power-up. "But Colonel, we're detecting something else. The void, it's not just physical. There's a psychic component." The few probes that got close enough to send data, their AI systems showed signs of actual fear before going dark. Zhao's cybernetic eye whirred as it processed this information. Humanity had faced extinction before, had stared into the abyss countless times. But this was different. This wasn't just a battle for survival, it was a battle for the very nature of reality itself. "Relay to all commands," he ordered, his voice carrying the weight of billions of lives. "This is what we prepared for. This is why we never gave up our fighting spirit, why we never let comfort make us soft. The aliens called us primitive, let's show them that primitive doesn't mean weak." As the void between Mars and Earth grew darker, humanity stood ready. They had 40 minutes until impact, 40 minutes to prove that the species that had crawled from the mud to touch the stars wouldn't go quietly into the night. The real test was about to begin. Captain Diana Rodriguez stood on the bridge of the EDS Hyperion, Earth's most advanced warship, as reality itself bent around them. The void between Mars and Earth had become a writhing mass of absolute darkness, swallowing light and matter alike. Her experimental vessel, along with 4 others of its class, formed humanity's first line of defense. Multiple quantum fluctuations detected, her tactical officer, Lieutenant Jackson, reported. The young man's hands trembled slightly, but his voice remained steady. "The Void Harbinger's evolving. It's like it's learning as it moves." The massive view screens showed what remained of Mars, or rather, what didn't remain. Where the red planet had once orbited, there was now only a sphere of perfect darkness, a hole in space itself. The sight sent chills through even the most hardened crew members. "Status of the quantum shields?" Rodriguez demanded, her eyes fixed on the approaching darkness. "Holding at 98%, Chief Engineer Patel responded from her station. "The new Lumini crystal integration is working better than expected. But Captain, the power drain is massive. We can't maintain this level of protection for more than 30 minutes. Rodriguez nodded grimly. They didn't need 30 minutes. They just needed enough time for Earth's planetary shield to fully activate. Her squadron was the last line of defense, a desperate gambit to buy precious minutes for their homeworld. All ships, battle formation Delta, she commanded across the squadron channel. Remember your training. Remember what we're fighting for. The 5 experimental warships moved into position, their hulls gleaming with the ethereal light of quantum shielding. Each vessel represented the pinnacle of human engineering, reverse-engineered alien tech combined with humanity's unique approach to warfare. The first attack came without warning. Not a beam, not a projectile, but a wave of pure negation that rippled through space. Rodriguez watched in horror as the EDS Artemis, positioned on their far left flank, simply ceased to exist. No explosion, no debris, just gone, as if it had never been there at all. Shield fluctuation. Patel shouted. The void, it's not just attacking our ships, it's attacking the space we exist in. Rodriguez's mind raced. This was beyond anything they'd trained for, beyond anything humanity had ever faced. But humans had always excelled at adapting, at finding solutions where none seemed possible. Reroute all non-essential power to the quantum stabilizers, she ordered. And get me a direct line to Admiral Nash. We need to warn them about this new attack pattern. Before they could establish communication, the second wave hit. This time, they were ready. The remaining 4 ships activated their experimental quantum anchors, devices designed to literally hold reality together around them. The strain on their systems was enormous, but they held. Multiple contacts. Jackson called out. The void, it's spawning something. Fragments of itself, like antibodies attacking an infection. Dark shapes emerged from the main mass of the void harbinger, each one a miniature version of the cosmic horror they faced. They moved with impossible speed, ignoring the normal laws of physics. All ships, initiate Protocol Omega, Rodriguez commanded. It was a desperate measure, one they'd hoped to avoid. Each ship activated its quantum resonance cannon, weapons powered by the same crystalline technology that formed their shields. The space between the warships and their void fragments lit up with beams of pure quantum energy. Where they struck, the fragments seemed to hesitate, their darkness momentarily disrupted by forced reality insertion. It's working! Patel exclaimed. The resonance is forcing them to exist in normal space. They are vulnerable. Rodriguez allowed herself a moment of fierce pride. This was humanity at its finest, finding weaknesses in the seemingly invincible, turning the impossible into the possible. But their victory was short-lived. The void harbinger itself seemed to react to their success, its massive form pulsing with what could only be described as rage. The very fabric of space began to tear around them. All power to forward shields. Rodriguez ordered as a wave of pure entropy rolled toward them. The EDS Hyperion groaned under the strain, its quantum stabilizers screaming as they fought to maintain a bubble of existence around the ship. They watched in horror as the EDS Phoenix and EDS Orion vanished, their crew's final transmissions cut off mid-word. Only the Hyperion and EDS Valiant remained, their shields flickering against the darkness. Captain, Jackson's voice was barely a whisper. Earth's planetary shield, it's online. They did it. Rodriguez stared at the tactical display, watching as a massive energy field enveloped their homeworld. The crystalline network Dr. Drake had designed was working, creating a barrier of forced reality around the planet. Send all our sensor data to command, she ordered. They need to know what they are really up against. And prepare to. The void harbinger struck again, this time with something new. Not destruction, but corruption. Reality itself seemed to twist, and with it came the whispers. Every crew member heard them, voices that spoke of secrets better left unknown, of truths that could shatter minds. Get out of my head! Lieutenant Jackson screamed, his hands pressing against his temples. All around the bridge, crew members fought against the psychic assault. Rodriguez felt it too, the maddening whispers, the pull toward oblivion. But something in her refused to yield. The same spirit that had driven humanity from caves to the stars burned in her heart. Listen to me, she shouted above the chaos. This is what it wants. It wants us to break, to give up. But we are human. We've faced our own demons, our own darkness. This is no different. Her words seemed to cut through the mental fog. One by one, her crew fought back against the whispers, their training and determination overcoming the alien horror. The Valiant isn't responding, Patel reported, her voice shaking but determined. They are gone, Captain. We're the last line. Rodriguez straightened in her command chair, her decision made. Plot a course directly into the heart of that thing. If we're going down, we're taking part of it with us. The EDS Hyperion turned to face the cosmic horror, its engines flaring with desperate power. They were humanity's last shield, the final barrier between Earth and annihilation. And as they accelerated toward what looked like certain doom, Captain Rodriguez smiled. Because behind them, Earth's shield held firm. And in that moment, humanity had proven something to the galaxy, that sometimes, the most primitive response, the willingness to stand and fight when all others flee, was the most powerful weapon of all. Lieutenant James Okonjo stood in the depths of the Lagos Quantum Research Facility, watching humanity's collective sanity unravel through his monitoring screens. The Void Harbinger's psychic assault had evolved beyond simple whispers, it now broadcasted visions of cosmic horror directly into human minds. Another outbreak in Sector 7, Research Director Yuki Tanaka reported, her usually calm voice strained. 300 civilians experiencing shared hallucinations. But the pattern, there's something different this time. Okonjo studied the neural mapping displays, his cybernetically enhanced vision detecting subtle variations in the brain wave patterns. After the sacrifice of the EDS Hyperion, Earth's shield had held against physical attacks, but the enemy had found another way in, through humanity's consciousness itself. Show me the comparison charts, he ordered, and holographic data streams filled the air around him. Something about the attack pattern seemed familiar, almost like. It's a code, he whispered, realization dawning. Director Tanaka, look at the neural oscillation patterns. The Void Harbinger isn't just attacking, it's trying to communicate. In orbit, the remains of Earth's defense fleet held position against the writhing darkness that surrounded their world. Admiral Nash's voice crackled through the quantum comm, Lieutenant, please tell me you have something. We're losing people up here. Not to death, to madness. Admiral, I think we've been looking at this all wrong, Okonjo responded, his fingers dancing through the holographic data. The psychic attacks aren't random. They are following mathematical sequences. Ancient ones. In the background, they could hear the screams. Throughout the facility, throughout the world, people fought against visions of impossible geometries and knowledge that human minds were never meant to contain. But some, like Okonjo, had begun to see patterns in the chaos. The sequence matches what we found in the Lumini crystals, Director Tanaka added, her eyes widening. The same crystalline structure that shields us, it's like the Void Harbinger recognizes it. Like it's responding to it. Deep in the facility's quantum computation chamber, machines hummed as they processed the impossible amounts of data flowing through Earth's defense grid. Each burst of psychic energy from the Void Harbinger left traces, patterns that seemed meaningless at first but slowly began to form a larger picture. It's not trying to destroy us, Okonjo said slowly, the pieces finally coming together. At least, not entirely. It's trying to transform us. The same way it transformed the space around Mars. But our minds, our human consciousness, they are resisting in a way it didn't expect. A sudden surge of energy rattled the facility. Above them, the planetary shield flickered as the Void Harbinger launched another assault. But this time, Okonjo saw it differently. Each attack carried information, fragments of something ancient and vast. The Lumini, he continued, his voice growing stronger. They didn't run because they were afraid of the Void Harbinger. They ran because they understood what it was. And that understanding, it broke them. But humans, we're different. Director Tanaka moved to another console, her fingers flying over the controls. The psychological resistance rates, she said. They are highest among children and artists. People whose minds naturally accept impossibility, who can look at something that shouldn't exist and still maintain their sense of self. Across the world, humanity fought its most intimate battle, not against external forces, but against the very nature of reality itself. In hospitals and bunkers, in orbital stations and underground shelters, people held onto their sanity through sheer force of will. "We need to reconfigure the planetary shield," Okonjo declared, his mind racing ahead. "Not to block the signals, but to translate them. If we can understand what it's trying to tell us." "That's suicide," someone protested. "You saw what happened to the Lumini. Their entire civilization collapsed just from the attempt to communicate." But Okonjo stood firm. "The Lumini tried to understand it through pure logic. We need to do what humans do best: adapt, imagine, believe in the impossible while keeping our feet on the ground." Admiral Nash's voice cut through their debate. "Whatever you're planning, Lieutenant, make it fast. The shield's energy reserves are dropping. We have maybe 2 hours before total failure." Working with desperate speed, Okonjo and Director Tanaka began reprogramming the quantum shield network. Instead of simply blocking the Void Harbinger's influence, they would attempt to channel it, to translate its cosmic language into something human minds could process without breaking. "Think of it like learning a new language," Okonjo explained to the facility's staff. "Not with our logical minds, but with our human ability to find patterns, to make meaning from chaos." The first test nearly drove everyone in the facility mad. The translated signals came through as bursts of impossible colors and sounds that shouldn't exist. But in those moments of near insanity, Okonjo saw something else: a pattern, a purpose, a truth. "It's not a weapon," he gasped as the test ended, blood trickling from his nose. "The Void Harbinger, it's a refugee. The last of its kind, running from something even worse. Something that's coming." Director Tanaka stared at him, her face pale. "How can you know that?" "The signals." "Because it showed me," he replied, his eyes distant. "Not in words or pictures, but in concepts our minds can barely grasp. It's been trying to warn us, but its very nature drives us mad. The Lumini couldn't handle it, so they ran. But humans? We're too stubborn to run," Admiral Nash finished over the comm, "too determined to give up even when we should. The very traits the aliens mocked us for. They might be our salvation," Okonjo concluded. "But only if we can find a way to communicate back. To show it that we understand, that we can help, if it stops trying to reshape our reality." As if in response to his words, the Void Harbinger's assault changed. The psychic pressure lessened, became more focused. And in the patterns of its communication, Okonjo began to see something new: not just warning or threat, but possibility. Humanity had always prided itself on being able to face the unknown, to stand against impossible odds. Now, they faced their greatest challenge yet, not just fighting in cosmic horror, but trying to understand it. And in that understanding might lie not just survival, but evolution. General Priya Patel stood in Earth's primary defense control center beneath the Himalayas, watching as humanity prepared for its most audacious gambit yet. The massive chamber hummed with energy as thousands of quantum computers worked in parallel, processing the impossible language of the void. "Final status check," she commanded, her voice carrying across the tensely quiet room. After Lieutenant Okonjo's breakthrough, they had less than an hour to implement their desperate plan. "Planetary shield reconfigured to transmission mode," Dr. Drake reported from her station. "We're ready to broadcast on all quantum frequencies." The Void Harbinger loomed above Earth, its massive form no longer attacking but waiting, as if sensing the change in humanity's approach. The creature that had consumed Mars, that had sent entire alien civilizations fleeing in terror, was about to witness something unprecedented: humans trying to reach out instead of just fighting back. "Lieutenant Okonjo," Patel called, "are you certain about this? If you're wrong." Okonjo stood before the central quantum interface, neural connectors attached to his temples. Blood had dried beneath his nose from earlier attempts at communication, but his eyes remained clear and determined. "General, for the first time since it entered our galaxy, the Void Harbinger is hesitating," he replied. "It recognizes something in us, our adaptability, our resilience, but most importantly, our ability to face the impossible without breaking." Admiral Nash's hologram flickered beside them, her image showing the strain of the past days. "The fleet is in position. If this fails, if it turns hostile again, we'll have one last chance to implement Protocol Omega. Protocol Omega, the detonation of every quantum core in Earth's defense grid simultaneously. A suicide move that would tear reality itself apart, but might take their Void Harbinger with them. Begin the transmission, Patel ordered, her heart pounding with the weight of her decision. They were betting humanity's survival not on weapons or shields, but on understanding. Okonjo closed his eyes as the quantum interface activated. Through him, through the reconfigured planetary shield, humanity would attempt to speak to a being that existed partly outside of reality itself. The first contact was overwhelming. Everyone in the command center felt it, a pressure in their minds, a sense of vastness that threatened to shatter their consciousness. But they held on, guided by Okonjo's transformed consciousness. "It's showing me," he gasped, his voice strained. "The thing it's running from, it's coming. A wave of UN creation, moving between galaxies, unmaking everything in its path. The Void Harbinger is the last survivor of a universe that existed before ours." Through the neural link, images flooded the command center's screens, impossible geometries, realities that folded in on themselves, and behind it all, a darkness deeper than the void, hungry and inevitable. The other species, Okonjo continued, sweat pouring down his face, they couldn't help because they couldn't understand. Their minds were too rigid, too set in their view of reality. But humans, we dream, we imagine, we believe in the impossible while still functioning in the possible. General Patel watched as the data streams began to align, as human consciousness and void thought found common ground. "We're not just translating," she realized. "We're evolving, adapting our minds to handle concepts we were never meant to understand." Around Earth, something extraordinary began to happen. The Void Harbinger's form started to change, its absolute darkness taking on structure, purpose. And in response, the quantum shield shifted, creating a bridge between two fundamentally different forms of existence. "It's offering us a choice," Okonjo announced, his voice filled with wonder. "It can teach us how to face what's coming, how to prepare our reality for the UN creation wave. But the price is becoming something more than human." Admiral Nash's hologram straightened. "The choice isn't yours alone, Lieutenant. This affects all of humanity." "Then let humanity decide," General Patel declared. She opened a global channel, broadcasting to every shelter, every bunker, every ship in orbit. "People of Earth, you've heard and seen what we face. The void isn't our enemy, it's a refugee, offering to help us survive something worse. But to accept its help means changing what we are, evolving into something new. The choice must be yours." The response came not in words but in action. Across the planet, humans reached out with their minds, accepting the challenge of change while holding onto their essential nature. They would evolve, but they would do it their way, not by abandoning their humanity, but by expanding it. The transformation began slowly at first, then with increasing speed. The Void Harbinger's knowledge flowed into human consciousness, reshaping neural pathways, opening minds to new dimensions of thought. But unlike the Lumini and others who had fled, humans maintained their grip on who they were, their determination to remain themselves even as they became more. "It's working," Dr. Drake exclaimed, monitoring the quantum readings. "The void entity is stabilizing, integrating with our shield network. And our minds, we're adapting, learning to exist in multiple states of reality simultaneously." General Patel felt it herself, an expansion of consciousness, an understanding of truths that should have driven her mad but instead made her more. Humanity had done what it always did, faced the impossible and found a way to make it possible. Above Earth, the Void Harbinger's form had completely transformed. No longer a wound in reality, it had become a layer of protection, a teaching entity that would help humanity prepare for the greater threat to come. The very force that other species had fled from had become humanity's greatest ally. "Send word to the Galactic Council," Patel ordered, a smile touching her lips. "Tell them that Earth is no longer under quarantine. Tell them that humanity has done what they thought impossible, we've not just survived the void, we've embraced it. And when the UN creation wave comes, we'll be ready." Lieutenant Okonjo opened his eyes, now reflecting depths that hadn't existed before. They called us primitive, he said softly. They never understood that being primitive meant being adaptable, meant knowing how to survive by changing while remaining true to ourselves. The story of humanity's stand against the void would be told across galaxies, not as a tale of military victory, but as a testament to the human spirit's unique ability to face the unknown and grow stronger from it. They had proven that sometimes, the most powerful response to an unstoppable force wasn't to run or fight, it was to understand, to adapt, and to evolve. Earth's skies would never be the same, now shimmering with quantum possibilities and void-touched reality. But the humans who looked up at those skies remained fundamentally themselves, dreamers, fighters, survivors, now with the power to face whatever darkness the universe might throw at them next. They had taken their greatest crisis and turned it into their greatest transformation, proving once and for all why humanity alone had chosen to stand and fight when all others fled.